One, we're live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is Jeffrey Mitchell. You are I want to make sure I got it right, the president of the South Florida AFL-CIO and TWU Local 291.
Yes, I am.
We get that right?
You got that right.
What the heck does all that mean, Jeffrey?
Well, the South Florida AFL-CIO is an umbrella organization for all the unions here in South Florida. The Transport Workers Union is what the acronyms TWU stand for, but they represent myself, all the transit workers working with Miami-Dade County.
So transit workers, what do they do? What vehicles do they drive?
We're bus, rail operators, mechanics, clerks, technicians, you name it.
How many union members are there? This is for Miami-Dade County?
Yes.
That you're
2,600.
2,600. And how did you earn that position?
I've been a union official with our union for about 22 years, and I've held different positions and roles, and then I just saw a need for a change and a different vision in our union, and so I decided to run for president.
And who elected you?
The membership.
The 2,600 people?
Yes.
Get 50.1% in your end?
You're in.
Okay, all right. So, and what was that like? When did you decide to say, gee, I want to serve in a director and leadership position for an organization?
Well, I felt as though the only way to make change was to be the one to give the direction, and you can't do that unless you're the leader of the organization. And we had gotten stagnated through the years of this current administration. You know, it really hadn't had a focus on transportation or the workers in transportation. So I wanted to, bring more light to the fact that we are workers, we have rights, and we wanted to be treated fairly.
And at some point you were a driver.
I'm actually an inspector on the Metro Rail side.
Is that right?
Yeah, I used to walk 10 miles a day.
Wow.
Inspecting the tracks.
Would you walk on the tracks?
Yes.
Yeah.
To find defects, so that the train can travel safely.
Up and down.
Yes.
10 miles a day.
Yes.
Tommy, you hear that? 10 miles a day. Just think about how many calories you get to use up when you're doing 10 miles a day.
You wear out a lot of boots.
Yeah. So when did you know that you wanted to be in a leadership position?
Well, it's a gradual ascent, but I always wanted to lead, so I've been elected ever since I started this thing. The people have kept me in place, and I was originally a rail vice president, just over the rail section, but through the years I learned about all the different areas, and so that I could better represent everybody, so that they can pull the wool over my eyes when we're talking about.
I would be neglectful if I didn't say that you and I just verified you were the first African American to have this position.
Well, with the South Florida AFL-CIO,
yes.
I am. And at the time, I wasn't running to be the first African American. I was just running to be the president of South Florida AFL-CIO.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it just turned out that was the case. But everybody knew me, and it wasn't just African Americans voting for me. And
if we could live our lives more like that, where it's sort of, oh yes, it happens to be a lady, or it happens to be a guy, or it happens to be a tall person, or a short person, or Hispanic, or whatever it happens to be, the world would be a better place.
Much better place.
So, and speaking of things like that, we have an election that's coming up.
Oh, yes.
All right, and unions across the country have positions.
Yes.
Right? And how are the candidates that the union is publicly supporting, how do you get to that, to select those? What's the process?
We have a vetting process where we screen all of the candidates. We invite all of the candidates to come by, and we give them a list of questions through this big questionnaire, and they're all labor-related questions, and based on how they score amongst the panel, that's how we do our selection. And primarily we're looking for candidates that have labor and the workforce in mind in every aspect of what they do. And saying that, labor sets the table for everybody in the country that works, whether they're with a union or not, because we fight for job safety, pensions and general working conditions, and usually the industry kind of morphs into that.
So Jackson Memorial Hospital, there's a union or two running around
Yes,
there,
it
right?
is.
University of Miami
Yes.
has a union. South Florida PBA,
Yes.
friend Stedman Stahl over there,
Yeah,
right?
no Stedman. Well,
Yes, good. So people are not sure what unions do. If you watch the movies, you see the people at the clubs going beating. I'm not sure who they're beating. It's maybe each other. I'm not quite sure.
No.
Right? But in today's unions, all right, represents their members.
Yes.
Like there's a UTD, United Teachers of Dade County. They represent the teachers, and they've been recently been real advocates for their teachers concerning COVID. So, what's the position now of the union concerning COVID, and how does it affect your membership?
Well, COVID has affected, especially in transit, my membership real heavily. Right now, I think the count is around 274 of the employees that are out. We've had 4 people die, one recently, and it's real, And at first, our administration, and managers in transit would try to act like it wasn't there, and that
When you say the administration, who are you referring to?
I'm talking about the county mayor,
Okay.
and the director. We had to drag them along, kicking and screaming, to even get personal protective equipment in the beginning phases of this COVID, because they were just as they say, quote unquote, prioritizing the PPE. Basically, they weren't giving us none. You know what I mean? And I think public outcry.
Yes.
And we launched a campaign called Ride Not Die, where we asked the director to ride on one of our routes without personal protective equipment, along with an operator, just so that if she thought it was safe. She never did. So
okay, and speaking of safe, folks, we have glass between us, and when Jeffrey came in the building, washed your hands, and we took your temperature, 96.2.
That much.
All right, yes, we got a tag. That means then somebody's walking around without a tag. I go, what are you doing here? All right, all right, so let's get on to the union endorse some candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you share, if you can, share with us some of those.
You want me to go to top to bottom?
Perfect. Let's hear it.
We'll start out with the big one, which is the president's race.
Okay.
Joe Biden is the only candidate running around talking about unions and protecting the rights of unions to organize and participate and what have you. And it was just a natural choice for us. Over the years, he's proven that. He's come to us. We've asked for things in the form of worker safety, and he was a champion of that. And so you always have to look at that. Now, on the other hand, President Trump has put people in place in the Department of Labor to make it harder for individuals to, realize their rights in labor, and slowing down the process and stuff. We got American Airlines employees are always at odds with American Airlines for some reason or another. And they put the emphasis on the employees and drag out these hearings in regards to their rights and stuff on the job, and especially during contractual years, they never side with the employees. And so when you have a good person running the Department of Labor, it's fair for both sides. You don't want to tilt the scale one side or the other. You want to hear the facts and then rule on what's before you, not just rubber stamp something, and that's the way the process really should work. And that's what we know Joe Biden has done when he was vice president, and so it was just natural for us to morph to him as president.
Okay.
So
we're going to go to the next one, but I want to remind everybody, you can vote by mail, also called absentee ballot, or the other way around. Once you send it in, you can put it in your mailbox. You can put it. There's 30 locations out the county. You can go to the Doral and drop it off over there. Early voting starts on Monday for 2 weeks, and November 3rd is the last day, not the day. That is the very last day. All right, and it might rain a lot that day, so make sure you vote. So let's hear it for the next one in line.
Oh well, I'm gonna go down to Congress.
Perfect.
And see, we look at people for what they do, and for us and what they do for our community. We have Frederica Wilson as one of our endorsed candidates, Mario Diaz-Balart. He's a
Mm-hmm.
friend. There are some provisions that come before Congress that have to be reauthorized, like a 13C.
Move the microphone a little closer to you.
13C, Davis-Bacon, stuff like that, and they always, stand up for us. And so he's one of our endorsed candidates as well. Erin Musel Powell, she has been a lion for us, in transit. And
by the way, how would somebody know that? How would I know that? All right, that she's done that.
Well, they everything they do is public record. What they vote on and the committees that they sit on, they have a record, and so we look at those records, and those records are scored by the National AFL-CIO.
But how would the general public, if I was looking for a reason to vote for somebody, all right, and I would look at some of the accomplishments. So, do you ask your candidates, listen, you should include us in your conversation because there may be somebody that is empathetic or sympathetic towards that?
I agree with that. Some of them kind of, are drawn by these national consultants that have them do certain things a certain way to look the right way. But we here locally are the ones that, know what you actually do. So you should, that's some good advice for them.
Yes,
going forward.
And the things that matter, what goes on right here. They can do whatever they want in Washington, but it's what impacts us down here.
That's
right?
what matters.
Yes. Okay. Who's next?
Well, we got Donna Shalala.
Mm-hmm.
Donna Shalala is a very smart lady, bright individual. She's a type politician that wants to know where every pothole is, in her community and district, and she checks back, and that's why we like her. She does ask the questions of what's needed, not just for us, but what's needed in the community. She asks your opinion. I like for someone not to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
They ask people that actually live in your district what is going on. When you have an elected official and you never seen them or never see them until every 2 years, then you don't have yourself a representative.
And I want to remind everybody again, this is Jeffrey Mitchell. He's the president of the. I want to make sure I have it right. Where is it? Tell him again.
I'm the Transport Workers Union, Local 291, Miami-Dade County Transit Employees.
And we're going over the candidates that your union, all right, the union that you represent, has decided to endorse in this upcoming election. Okay, who's next? And
the South Florida AFL-CIO.
Yes. Okay.
Going down the line, we if you want to start looking at some of the local races here, and I want to skip on that. We got the state senators. Jose Javier Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Javier Rodriguez impressed me many years ago when he was a state representative, and we were in Tallahassee, and I sat on a committee meeting that he sat in, and the Retail Association was trying to get something passed that would really severely limit how the employees were to be paid. And he stood up, and he was probably like the lone voice in there. But when he finished, you could see that he was turning some of his colleagues towards the matter. So I at that day the measure didn't go through, and that's a pretty effective politician and a representative as far as I was concerned, because he was outnumbered. But after he finished talking and speaking, he was able to convince them that what they were doing was wrong, and taking away local control. And so that's what you want in politicians. So we certainly endorse him. And state Senate race with Javier Fernandez. He's also one of our candidates. This guy has an interesting story. His mom was a nurse for 40 plus years, and single-handedly brought him up. So he has this hard-working. Like you said, mom was a shop steward as a nurse in the union.
Okay.
Yes. So he had this union background and this work ethic that we liked, and so he understood about the common folk. We are the ones that drive this community. Everybody that works day to day, brings home the paycheck. That paycheck is multiplied out in the community when you go out and spend. So he knows that, and he's a real good guy. And I see some of the commercials trying to cast him in a certain way. He's not that kind of guy. I don't know where that comes from. That's part of the circus that we see this time of year.
You know, it's a real pleasure that you know these candidates. This is great, all right? Because sometimes people just mention names and then you don't have a background. So I'm really pleased that you know that. All right, who's next?
Well, I like to dip down. I'm not going to go too far in the state house races because there's a million of them. Mm-hmm. But I want to get in the county commission.
Okay.
The county commission race. Let me just go straight to mayor first, and then we'll get to the county commission. Daniela Levine-Cava. Mm-hmm. Daniela Levine-Cava's been working hard, not only for her district, but Dade County. We want rail down the busway. And somehow through the process, we got talked out of rail, and now we got electric buses that are going to be going down busway as a Band-Aid. It's really just a Band-Aid because they're building the stations to accommodate rail later. You know, you had the opportunity right there to move it forward. And she fought, her and Barbara Jordan fought tooth and nail to get them, but, you know, the lobbyists for whatever reason helped convince some of the other commissioners not to vote for it. And so we ended up with the latter, which is really electric buses going down the busway. So, but
we're talking about South,
yeah, because I live in Palmetto Bay as well.
Okay. Oh, you got an election going on down there.
Yes, that's another.
And we learned a thing or two about that recently.
I could weigh in on that too.
We're going to give it a shot.
Well, and so I clearly think that she is the best choice for mayor because she has actually been working with community groups before she was a commissioner, county commissioner. You know, Catalyst Miami. You know, those are institutions that.
I saw a survey that she has 90% of the African American vote. Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
Wow,
that's real. And
congratulations, Commissioner.
she's been working it. She's been working it pretty good, but she's been in there from start to finish. She's not just come there to get their votes. She's been actually in the communities doing work and asking questions.
A social worker by trade, by the way.
Yeah, a social worker by trade. And
by the way, about 5 years ago, I met her through a mutual friend, and she said, Michael, I'm going to run for county commission. I said, you know, it's really hard to unseat an incumbent. And whenever I see, every third or fourth time I see her, I know she's looking at me thinking that, so I bring it up.
Yeah, you know, and we helped her in that race because we had a very vile commissioner representing us during that time. He was just anti-worker, anti-employee, and just anti. And so we hit the streets. Yep. We were in South Dade, North Dade.
You were very discreet.
Yes, we were very discreet, knocking on the doors. Hey, but we found that working with Daniela's been actually a joy working with her through the years. Her staff will call you and when something comes down, what do you think about this? You know, and you know, she has a better plan. She has a better plan. If we think that right now the transit solutions that we have are the answer, we're sadly mistaken. You know, we can't contract our way out of this COVID-19.
Yeah, I understand in the busway they're trying to get to the minimum. There's a critical point is 35,000 a day. Mm-hmm. Then the county can go and get some federal funds, I think, for that next step. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen. All right, but it might if we're lucky. All right.
You got to put a product out there that people are confident in.
Yep.
The way that they're running the busway now reflects of who you hired as your director. If you wanted to increase ridership down there, you should have went out and did a national search for a director and not hire somebody from the city of Miami who wasn't ever a director of any kind of transit agency.
Well, there's no question when the roads are cut off that you cut off people, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, okay, you're over there. It's like a wall, all right? You're over there and we're over here, all right? And don't come up. All right, That's the way wars are won, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way developers do it. You put in the roads, and there's this transportation that occurs. And we know that in Florida City and Homestead and Cutler Bay and Palmetto Bay and Pinecrest, what a disaster that was in the last 2 years, right?
Disaster.
Including just a couple bridges through Palmetto Bay, and that connection that they all had and working together just fell apart, imploded. What I was told,
it collapsed.
and then I think pre-COVID, the county said, we're going to be in charge. You guys so muffed it up, all right, that we're going to go in and we're going to run it. You can have input, but we're going to take care of it. So I hope whatever happens is that the county takes an upper hand and says, we're going to develop this. We leave that local politics. Let them argue about the zoning, right? We know that the county has now on the west side of US 1, within I think a half a mile, changed a lot of the zoning over there to allow apartment buildings to go up with less and less parking.
Yeah.
So more people will use
More density.
Yes, and I think that is great. I don't know how long that takes for that to work, but you got to start at some point. Okay, who else? So we had mayor, all right?
All right, we're at the mayor, so we'll get down to the county commission. We're actually supporting Keone McGee on the south end.
He was a state representative. He was a
minority leader.
Yes, which is a big deal.
Yes.
All right. When I didn't know his story, when I heard his story, I'm sitting right. he said right there, I'm crying and say, "You have to tell the story." Meanwhile, he probably told the story 100 times. I just never heard it before. All right. And he got quite a story, and he's really charismatic, and he's a scrapper.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Elvis Maldonado is going to be here soon.
Yeah.
Right? But I got to tell you, Keone, he's a scrapper, and he used to be a wrestler. My brother they're about the same age, and my brother was involved in sports, so the two of them harassed each other genuinely with a good smile. So you have Keone. You endorsing anybody for school board?
School board, Dennis Moss.
Okay, that has been serving the community for almost 30 years as a commissioner, and he was with the Boys Club, I think, Boys Club for almost 40 years.
Yes.
And he was here a couple of weeks ago. Very nice, and he really wants to serve. Luisa Santos is on the other side on that, young Hispanic, nice-looking lady, energetic, lots of ideas. So it should be an interesting race.
It's going to be interesting. We're supporting Dennis Moss. I'm so familiar with him as a commissioner through my entire career. He's been there as a commissioner.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Guy's been up there for 30 years. He's just like, holy moly! All right, and let's see, who else do we have going on?
Well, we in the city and a couple other districts. We've already had elections already called. Mm-hmm. We had up in the North End District 1. That's been settled. Mayor Gilbert from Miami Gardens,
yes.
he screeps.
It's an interest when you watch that. You go, here's a guy. He's been in office for 4 years, 10 years, whatever it was, and this newcomer, all right, comes in and almost whoops him.
Almost.
And it's like, holy moly! All right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a reflection on him, but how there's this new group. People that are out there that want to serve, all right, mm-hmm. and there's going to be a place for the people that come back, time and time again to be able to get to that point.
It's another example also of every vote counts. You know what I mean, and that was by the margins, and truly, if you voted in that election, your vote counted.
By the way, we have in back the newspaper from Bush Gore, all right.
I saw that.
All right, and it's like and
that's the ultimate example right there.
Okay, so we have Eileen Higgins and Renair. I forgot his last name. Any recommendation
there? From the AFL side, it's a larger group, and they chose Higgins. But from the Transport Workers Union could not go with Higgins because she's really refused to meet with us for 2 years. And for whatever reason, when we first met with her, when she first got elected, she, we went in and talked about transit issues and how the members were being treated on the transit side, and she really didn't want to talk about that.
So some of the cities, Doral, for instance, has their own bus system. Is that part of your group?
No, well, it's part of the money. It saps out of the transit money from the half-cent sales tax, and they're using that to run the different.
They had 890,000 people on that thing last year. I don't know if it was whatever year the last one was.
It was free.
Yeah, well,
it's
free. It's still almost 1 million people.
Yeah, it's free. So if it's good to see people riding in transit, riding stuff, but the money actually comes from the half-cent sales tax.
Speaking of that, we got stiffed by this county commission up there for all those years. They'd taken that transit money and spent it on stuff they shouldn't have, right? And we all suffer. The people in Kendall are suffering. The people on South are suffering. So I hope this new commission spends the money all right, the way that it was supposed to be spent.
That's the hope. The money from the house and sales tax was to go toward new transportation options,
Yes.
newer routes, more means to get around, and somehow they did what they did with the lottery money. You know, on the state level, they just supplemented the budget with house and sales tax money versus putting it aside in a trust to use it for transit options.
And all of them were complicit. All right.
Yes,
All of them.
all
right?
of them, all of them.
And it's just like,
everybody hands dirty.
yes. All right. So, who else you got? Oh, Palmetto Bay.
Palmetto Bay is interesting. You know, I had to do some homework, and I went with Cody and Tellum. It was a sad thing that happened with her husband here recently, and I don't know how she can campaign after that, but she's got the strength, well enough to do that after a tragedy like that. She's got my support 100%. Cody is a very intelligent guy that, you know, everybody has their faults and, you know, done fell down in life. But if you got good ideas, you got good ideas.
Yeah.
I want
He is very articulate. He knows how to get people to listen to him. I've seen his writing, and quite frequently I see people commenting on his Facebook. 30 to 100 people are commenting, so he knows how to draw people into that. And we know Steve and also David on the other side with that. So,
District 7.
I'm sorry? District 7. Yeah, thank you, Tommy.
District 7 with Raquel Regalado.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
Raquel was here yesterday, and Cindy's coming back in a couple days again.
well, you know, we try to stay out of that, but I'm going to tell you that Raquel Regalado is a friend, and she's also a help to the teachers union and the transport workers union. So
Former school board member.
yes, she's a former school board
Okay.
member. So she's always going to get my nod.
Right. So we named 3 other unions: UTD, the South Florida Police Benevolent Association, the
SEIU,
and
Martha Baker.
Is there a coalescing of candidates between the groups, or are they just whatever?
No, I just rattled off some. We have a whole slate card with them on them, the whole list. Can furnish you with that. if you need
Okay,
it.
so, yeah, but is there a connection in the endorsements, or do you all, because you're unions, is there some camaraderie as far as a connection between people they endorse, each of these unions, or
Yep.
are they standalone? And
No. We try to stand by who we've screened in the endorsement process.
But when the PBA endorses, it's not they endorse the people that they think are best for the police.
That's what they do. Yeah.
So that may or may not be the same people as
Yeah, absolutely, because they got a different agenda, and that there are certain things that we agreed to fight on, especially the county police officers, and certainly the city of Miami as well. There are certain labor issues that go across the board for all of us, you know, healthcare and stuff like that, and so we join forces on.
So I have these images in my mind of these ladies driving the school buses, but and now when I see the big buses, this is just an innate prejudice that only men can drive buses. All right, there's some lady driving that big old bus.
We got
Right?
probably about equal amount of women
That
in
is
transit
amazing.
that are driving buses. We got. You remember I told you I walk 10 miles. We have ladies out there walking 10 miles with me as well. You know, when
Tommy,
I was
we
out
don't
there.
want to mess with them.
So it's equal opportunity workforce. I can tell you that. Those buses, the taxpayer pay about $500,000 or more for each one
Is
of
that
those
right?
buses that
And
you see.
let's talk about the type of buses that are being used. As far as you don't use fuel anymore.
Compressed natural gas and electric buses are going to be the wave of Dade County.
And what percentage are the old fuel?
The old fuel now is we're probably down about 20% of the old fuel, but that's not counting now. What's the weirdest thing is that if you're going to go that route, you don't give a contract to a company that's running gas and diesel. So you kind of neutralize each other out. You got to have, if you're going to go the clean route, go clean all the way.
Yep.
and that's the eventual process, and that's why I like Daniela, because she has that.
So with those buses, that is done for pollution, I'm using the term sort of generally, purposes. It's not necessarily for economic reasons.
Both.
But for both.
Both, because we have an overabundance of compressed natural gas in this country. It burns cleaner. And so it's a little better on the atmosphere than the carbon fuels like the diesel. But long term, as batteries get better, they're looking more and more towards the electrical transit vehicles.
So what else is on the mind of the AFL-CIO this season?
Well, we're steaming straight into election day with a lot of optimism and purpose. We want to see our community grow. We want to see our community heal from this pandemic, and we're hoping that we can get some kind of vaccine developed. It's not going to be developed this year for nobody to use. Middle of next year, you'll probably see, first wave of vaccines coming through. So until then, we want to see everybody, with the right mindset, that there is something out there that can make you really sick or kill you. And please wear a mask and respect your neighbor.
So let's talk about the social, emotional, and mental health needs of the people in the union. What sort of services or direction are you providing, and what are you doing to try to help them through this time?
Well, we have an outlet with the United Way, and we have a labor liaison, a young lady named Cheryl Lemon, and we have a whole host of counseling and services, and for people that lose their way or lose a way to earn a living that may have been in a union. We could send them over. We can get them vouchers and temporary places to stay like that, and then also have the county resources as well.
You have oxygen, and then you have money, and then the other stuff in there.
It's underneath, yeah.
Right? So when you look at this time where people are having a lot of stress because of lack of work or an increased cost, the kids are home, all right? Our hope is that we can get where the parents are able to go back to work, all right? But lots of times they need a little help, as the government did for just about everybody, the federal government, just to float this through, right?
Yes.
And I think that it's important and I come from a health background, that people throughout the community know that being depressed or being anxious or being nervous is okay, and that it's all right to go ask for some help. If there's a member that's listening right now and they need some help, all right, what do you want them to, who do you want them to call?
You can call us, the Transport Workers Union.
Okay.
Our number listed, we have a website.
Right, tell them.
The number is 305.
A little bit louder.
305-526-8077. And we'll direct you to who you need to go, or you can go to tw291.org.
Okay. And I think that's really important. We had the assistant superintendent for the school board here who's in charge of mental health, and she talked a little bit about the kids that are back in school. They're all upset. They're not quite sure. Today you're in class, tomorrow you're not in class. And before you used to go and slobber and kiss your friends and hold their hands and
Can't
do all
do that
stuff.
Anymore.
And so it's certainly different.
Uh-huh.
And Jeffrey, it's been a real pleasure being with you.
Same
and,
here.
Congratulations on your success, and thank you for being here as well.
My pleasure.
And he's president of the AFL-CIO and of the TWU Local 291. All right. And again, make sure you vote. All right. If you need to know who the union wants, you can look on your website and find that. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And their endorsements there. I want to thank Tommy for producing the show. And again, this is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Folks, have a great weekend. See you later.
Bye.